Hi, I'm here with Jason Grinovich, professional hockey player. How are you, Jason?
Doing well, Jacko. How about yourself, buddy?
Doing good. Trying to stay cool with this hot weather, and hopefully it gets cooler
I
soon.
wish I wish I had the same.
Well, we'll
We're
send
dropping
you
off. It's
some.
getting colder and colder. Please do.
We'll make a trade. Yeah, so I'm making this video. It's about coaches. Over the years we've had so many different coaches, and some good, some bad, some in between, and just we're gonna. That's the subject of today. Want to see what you thought of your coaches and what I think of mine. And we share two of the same coaches in our careers. Actually, we had two of the same coaches, which is a very
Yeah,
rare. Yeah,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
No, I've got lots to say on coaches. I've had, like you said, I've had definitely some good ones and some that I didn't care for too much. I can say
yeah.
that right now.
Well, same here. Some really good ones, and that really did a good job. And then, as I came up in the higher ranks, the coaches I feel got worse. That's probably what I think.
Yeah, or maybe we just learned more about hockey, so we listened a bit less. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. So, which is out of everybody, which would you say is like the most craziest coach you ever had?
Well, depends on what you consider crazy. Because when I was playing overseas, I had a coach with the big club, and it
Uh
was
huh.
my first day. And so I thought they were just messing with me. I was really nervous. I was, I mean, you just got called up to the big club, and I'd just gotten overseas, and
Yeah.
obviously from a small area here, traveling to overseas was really not something on my agenda growing
Yeah.
up. But I ended up there, and so I got to first practice, and he's standing there and he's drawing up the first drill, and
Hmm.
he starts out with his X's and O's and lines and stuff like that, and he's like looking at his shoulder, and yeah, is that right? Yeah, yeah, no, that, yeah. So he's like
Was
talking to somebody, and
was
I'm
he
looking to
talking to
see.
who?
I don't know. Like I thought he was
Oh,
talking to one of the guys, but there
yeah.
was like he was just like a loony, like he was loony, right? So then by the end of this drill, I swear to God, he like the entire whiteboard,
Uh huh.
like a hockey rink, the diagram of the hockey rink was black. It was like he just covered it in black. So he's like, okay, let's go. And so I look at one of the boys, one of the old
Yeah.
vets, and I said, hey, I said, can you explain that one to me? I said, I really don't want to fuck it up. And he's like, I got no idea what I'm doing. And I was like, man, that's pretty rude, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a new guy, like, and he just turned and skated away. So I went up to the other one, and Mickey, and hey, Mickey, I said, can you explain that one to me?
Yeah.
Like I didn't get it. And he's like, neither do I. And I'm like, so okay, so we get to the bench, and the I sit down on the bench, and I'm next to Peterson, and I said, hey, Petey, I said, can you explain that one to me? Like what are we supposed to do here? He's like, ha, I got no idea. And I'm like,
That's
I'm
the
sitting there
thing.
dumbfounded. I'm like, are these guys like that much screwing with me? I mean, rookie, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I expected something. And so the first line goes out and does the drill, and he blows the whistle. Wrong. And they
Yeah.
do it again. They do it the exact same way, and wrong. And he's screaming. This coach is losing his mind.
Yeah.
So then he kicks him off the ice, get off, and the next line comes out. I'm telling you, Jocko, they did the exact same thing to a T. And
Yeah.
he's just like, there it is. That's exactly what I wanted to see. And
I
I'm
wanna.
sitting there going like, man, you guys have rehearsed this. Like this is the third line goes out, does the exact same thing as the first and second line. They did it wrong.
Uh
My
oh.
line goes out, does the exact same thing, and all of a sudden I did it right.
And
Like it was like
yeah, I want to ask you. I'm picturing here him like showing you guys on the board, kind of like Shooter McGavin. If you remember the movie Celtic Pride, where he scribbles the board on for the basketball, and you can't see anything. Now, was he talking to someone on his shoulder, like a good guy, bad guy, like one of those little,
yeah.
one of those, or was he talking like in the air? Or
No, it was like he had a little dude sitting on his shoulder that he was talking to, and it was weird, and it was like that was like my first experience, and definitely he wasn't messing with me. They
oh,
were This
sure.
wasn't a stage thing. This is like talking to the boys after, like this is every day, and
Wow.
sure, like every time I get called up for practice. Like he would talk to this guy, and it's like he had a voice in his head. He was crazy. Yeah, it was. He was definitely, when you say crazy, that was definitely the
Oh
most
my
crazy coach
goodness.
I've ever had.
And that's the highest, and it's a high rank in league and everything. Oh my goodness. That would mess
Yeah,
with every, and then you don't know if you're gonna do what's next. Like you're okay. We're gonna really pay attention to the next drill. Hopefully he can, you know, the line that did it wrong, they're like, hopefully we get it right this time, you know, whatever they were thinking.
Yeah, the players would argue with them all the time, and
Oh
it was like,
man.
we did the same thing. No, you
Yeah.
didn't. And it's like, I honestly, man, I was dumbfounded. I
Oh
mean,
man.
our big club that year was really good. I think they actually went on to win it all. I was in the minor system, but
Yeah.
they were a good club. I have
Yeah.
no, they were just honestly, they were just that good that they won without
Yeah.
a coach.
Well, that's sometimes that works good for the coach's advantage. You don't have to do anything but just put lines together and just let him go. Yeah. So,
I don't even know if they listened to the lines. I think they just did it on their own. And he'd win, and he was crazy enough to believe that it was his coaching.
yeah, could be. Yeah. So mine, let's see. The craziest coach, or not crazy, but like the most intense coach that I had was in juniors. And you probably recall this coach, and you had him too. And you could tell your story. What I was like when he walks in, the one thing I remember the most is in intermissions, you know, we're in the dressing room getting ready for the next period. And say we had a bad period or whatever. He walks in and he'll tell the stick boy quietly to like walk out, closes the door, loosens his tie. I guess he needs more circulation to yell. So he loosens the tie like a lot. And then he just goes off like an insane guy, crazy. And he takes his stick and he just swings like swashbuckler across the table, knocks everything over. By the time he leaves the dressing room, it's like a tornado just hit our place, like someone in Kansas. And I think you know who I'm talking about. It was the most craziest thing he ever did was that.
Yeah, I know the exact coach that was, and funny enough, you say that. That is actually he is one of my most favorite coaches I've
Yeah.
ever had.
Yeah, he was good.
He he lined like I mean he had his rules, his expectations,
Yeah.
and you did not stray from that. And
No.
one of his foundations was your work ethic,
Yeah.
and your commitment to team. And he did he did the same thing. I remember we had Kluch. He was he was kind of a tougher guy and
Yeah.
and he took some stupid penalties and he got it handed to him in between the first period and
Yeah.
just the tie loosened, right, like
Oh, yeah.
like you said, and he handed it to him, and then Kluch took a few more not necessarily the greatest penalties in the world, and we were down. And well, he came into that dressing room and same thing. The stick boy, quietly called me,
yeah.
"Hey, can you leave the room?" And turned around, locked the door behind it. So when he locked that door,
Yeah.
man, I thought the worst was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't loosen his tie. He took it off,
Oh,
hung it
man.
up,
That's even worse.
undid buttons on his shirt, and grabbed this guy. And it was like, "You think you're tough? You want to go? You And I was just like, I was an underage playing, and like I was just like curled up in a corner, like, oh man, don't look at me, like I'm just a circus midget here in the corner, like leave me alone.
One time he was going insane and unexpectedly just went insane and I just couldn't hold it, but I started laughing. And he comes up. I haven't told you the story, but he comes up to me and goes, "What are you laughing about?" And I go, "You." It's just so funny. And then he was about to break laughing, lose character. He just ran out of the dressing room like pissed off, but he was just about to burst laughing. I think it eased up the tension in there because then everybody started laughing and it was just hilarious how he just destroyed everything on the table, and like the poor stick boy had to clean up all the Gatorade mess on just like everything. Destroyed it. The stick rack went like just sticks all over. Like I tell you, it was like a tornado. And we walk out of there, we had to step over sticks, and man, luckily nobody got hit with the sticks. He was out of control.
Yeah, he was. Like I said, he had high expectations,
Yeah.
and he really, I can say that from a gameplay standpoint,
Oh, he was the best
he
we had.
really taught me. He really taught me what it took
Yeah.
to play and to work and to commit. There was
Yeah.
and I mean, being a skilled player, he taught me that that wasn't enough in the game.
No.
You couldn't just put pucks in the net. You had to play that 200-foot game better, and
Yeah.
you block shots. Whether you liked it or not, you took the check. You finished the check. It was a hard game, and I've always been known as a playoff player, and led a lot of leagues in scoring in playoffs and put up
Yeah.
2 points a game, 3 points a game in playoffs versus, point and a half or so in regular season. And it was honestly reflecting back many years later, I credit that to a guy like that teaching me that, if you're going to win, if you're going to compete, that's what you have to bring to the ice. And, as funny as stories as we have about him, he's definitely, I credit him to a lot of success I had in my career.
Same here. I mean, he taught me a lot as far as the power play. We had I think 4 power play setups, and we had 4 checkings. We had to remember them all. Everybody respected him. They all liked him. I remember we were on a road trip, and everybody broke curfew. So I'm like, okay, how many people are going to sit, right? They were drinking. They broke curfew because curfew was 10. And no one came to their hotel room till 4 a.m. So he books us ice at 7 a.m. and bags us that morning before the game at night. So we were bag skated. Then that was about an hour and 15 minutes of just ladders. Then we come back and we slept, we took a nap, which I never take a nap. By the time we got to game time and I see the dressing room empty, I'm like, Ned, where's everybody? He's like, well, we're sitting out 13 of the guys, including the goalie. So 12 players and a goalie. So we had 6 guys and the 1 goalie. And I said, oh my God. So I'm going to be playing a full, this is a 60-minute, it's not kids hockey. I said, so Ned, what do we do for breaks? He's like, just two-hand somebody. All right, no problem. So every time we wanted to break, we just said, hey, ref, watch this. And we just come across the legs. Okay, go to the box, 2 minutes. So that's how we ended up winning 6-2. We even won with our 6 players. And he benched. I mean, never seen anyone bench that many guys. He didn't care. He's like, well, your guys are benched. And then we got bag skated that whole week.
But again, that was his expectation, right? There was no breaking it. It wasn't. He would be willing to lose that game to teach you a life lesson, and that's really what I utmost respected with him. Is yes, he was creating hockey players, but he was. If you look at those teams he's coached and the success in life that they've had, not necessarily hockey, but life. Those guys have went on to be, great employees, great business owners, very successful people, because they had that commitment and they knew that, Uncle Ned was watching over them. You were scared.
Yeah, we were scared of Uncle Ned. Tell him about the time when it's Thanksgiving. What happens on Thanksgiving? Usually after Thanksgiving. That's happened to me and happened to you. He does that every year.
Oh,
that's a turkey.
The Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you tell me
Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That week was like hell week.
Yeah.
I mean, he killed it. We ran. I remember we ran so many laps of stairs and touched every stair in that rink, on every stair, and it was like, I don't remember what it was, 50 or 100 laps we had to do, and it's not a small stadium. And they shut the lights off. They tried to kick us out, and he's like, so we stopped, and he's like, "Boys, you're not done yet." Yeah. We ran in the dark till about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man!
And I remember Kluch, he missed the stair. And I don't know how Ned, he saw him, he caught him, because you have to touch every stair. He made him do it all. He didn't get out of the rink till 3:30 in the morning.
Oh, man.
He ran the 50 laps or 100 laps, whatever it was. And it was hell week. It was like you're skating off your turkey. And he gave it to us. He absolutely gave it to us.
Well, the time I was playing for him, he didn't know about dry land, so he had us on the ice. And the first year, he's like, how's your Thanksgiving? I'm like, it was good, Coach. He's like, did you guys eat turkey? And we're like, yes, we did. And then he's like, okay, great. So let's burn it off. So we skated, I think, almost an hour and a half of ladders straight. It was like when we do ladders, we're not talking a blue line, red line back. We're going side to side boards. So there's 3 groups, mid zone, and we go 1 and then back up to 10 and then down. And we did those double that day. And the next year came around because I played for him for 2 years. He goes, so how was your Thanksgiving? And we're like, this time if he asks you, just say we didn't eat turkey. We said, yeah, we didn't eat any turkey. We didn't have Thanksgiving. He's like, I know you're lying, boys. Let's go on the lines again. Or let's do our ladders. And like, oh man, we couldn't get out of it. It was a mess.
He was good. I liked him. He had his own way, and regardless of your answer, you were getting it. Like
Yeah.
didn't matter what you told him. You could have said, I spent 6 hours a day on the ice or in the gym
Yeah.
all holiday long, and it was like, good. So you'll be in shape for this then. And he
Yeah.
just gave it to you anyway.
Did you have any other stories like on the road trip with him? Because I have more stories. I don't know. How about you?
No, you know what? That's kind of my memories with Ned. We were pretty good on road trips with him. We learned early, and obviously the legend of Ned was Uncle Ned was around for quite some time before we had him. So we pushed some limits, but we were always pretty tame because we knew like the legend of him was you do not stray.
No.
So
Yeah, I remember one road trip. I mean, we're on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and we usually get a luxury bus to go on our road trip. And he's like, "Boys, you better." He said, "Boys, you better bring your parkas." I'm like, "Okay." So we all dressed up in our winter coats. He brought us a school bus. He rolled all the windows down, and the bus driver had a parka. But meanwhile, he took his car to the arena, and we were freezing our ass off. Like, it was probably minus 20. I don't know what it was, but it was a 4-hour trip, and it was minus 20, and all the windows were rolled down. And we said, that's it.
Yeah.
We're not losing anymore. And after that, we didn't lose any 4-game losing streaks. We were pissed. And I think it just got us to play better, and it worked.
he did that. He actually did that to us too.
He did the same thing.
We always took the custom coach buses, like your comfy and TVs and that.
Yeah.
And same thing. It was in a ratty old school bus, and it was cold. He refused to have he showed up in like full like hunting winter camo to like get on this bus, and we're like, what the heck? So he refused to let the bus driver turn the heat on.
Yeah. No heater, he told the bus driver. But he took his car the one time that he didn't come with us on the bus ride, at all. He took his own car, 4 hours each way. Yeah, he was, that was the way he got the message to you. And if you got like one offside or one icing, you sat the rest of the game. If you didn't finish your check and you circled away, you'd be benched. You better finish your hit.
Oh, yeah.
If there wasn't 60
like I said,
checks.
He had his expectations, and you look at obviously we know him, but you look at the laundry list of players that he coached that played pro, whether it's minor pro or NHL or drafted Western League. Like, I mean, there's 30, 40 guys from, and I mean, we live in I live in a small area. Like there's, to have those numbers come out of an area like this under a coach like that, I mean, obviously times have changed and the approaches have changed and all that. So I highly doubt he'd get away with that now without a lawsuit. But I mean, but but you know what, with that said, we don't produce those players anymore. No. And honestly, I look at it and I know the game has changed and there's a lot, but a coach like that went a really, really long way in our community, and it was awesome to have him around here and given his time, and make a note of it. He gave his time. He wasn't a paid coach.
No,
it was volunteer, and he did that out of the goodness of his heart. So I mean, coaches at those levels, they don't do that anymore. It's all about a paycheck and listening to whatever the hockey world tells them they're supposed to do. And it's that's why I have the utmost respect for him. And again, one of the most legendary coaches in my opinion. And I've got a lot. I mean, I guess we could probably talk on this for 2 hours about other coaches in our careers. But I mean, that's definitely a one that we both shared that was very impactful in our hockey playing career.
Yeah, I knew that you had one when you played. I don't know if you want me to mention team, but you were successful with that junior team, and this coach was really a players type of coach. And I met him actually; he was really nice, and it's like, man, I wish there was more coaches like him. If you remember who it was, and
I do actually. Yeah, I was playing in a circumstance that wasn't very favorable for myself, and I ended up leaving that team and getting traded there, and it was under Milan Dragicevic and Barry Midori, my Papa Bear. And I still to this day, Jacko, I keep in touch with them.
Oh, that's nice.
They transformed my career. Put the love back in the game. I mean, I was pretty much at the point I'd got beaten so hard that I was ready to leave the game at a young age, and they put that love back. They gave me freedom of thought, and they approached the game back then like they essentially what people are trying to do with the game now they were doing then. And these two guys are brilliant hockey minds. Actually, Barry just won recognized by Canadian Junior Hockey last year, a major award.
Wow.
Essentially as almost a Hall of Fame award kind of thing for coaches, and continues to do that, continues to give back. I still talk. I coach kids and help out where I can, and there's guys like Ned, and obviously I don't coach like Ned does, but I still lean on those guys for knowledge and how can I do this better, and can you send me some drills? Here's how I'm approaching it, and they're always willing to pick up the phone. And to me, those are true hockey guys. They're like yourself, Jack. You train. You guys are I train with you guys. You're the best in the business. No question in my mind. If you're gonna make it. You got to be training down there. You set kids aside, and you're always willing to pick up the phone and have that hockey conversation. And to me, those are true hockey guys. The ones that are successful in coaching, but never get bigger than the game itself. Where they're still willing to help guys that are like myself, that are learning and trying to give back to the game and giving ideas and that kind of stuff. And I do a credit guys like Milan and Barry and Uncle Ned, the utmost respect, because they really, and obviously Hockey Alley and yourself played a major factor in that. I was actually just talking to Cabby the other day, and he made mention of that actually, and he said, you were always a good hockey player, but it wasn't until you were like 14, 15 that you really excelled, and that was when I actually started training with you in Hockey Alley and Mr. Miyagi, and
that's when we met, right?
That's when we met, and eating Miss Rose's food, and
thank you.
Yeah, and learning the right way, and that really. All of those, the factors of Uncle Ned and yourself and Barry and Milan coming together really was the reason I had a pretty successful career. And growing up in a town of 300-400 people, I was never destined to make it. The odds were solely against me, small area, small everything, and having the success and Division I scholarship and top scorers in the Alberta League, both in regular season and playoffs, and doing the same in the CCHA and then going overseas and being really successful. That's a credit to essentially four obviously family plays into that, but really five major coaches in my life, which is Uncle Ned, Barry, Milan, yourself, and your dad Steve were major factors in my career, and I appreciate that, and I thank you guys for that.
Oh, you're welcome.